Hey guys, I'm Sage Valentine and I'm back to review another episode of AMC's The Walking Dead. This time I'm reviewing Season 6, episode number 14, entitled Twice as Far. So some of you guys probably watched this episode, particularly the scene with Rosita and Spencer, and you probably said to yourself, why is Rosita getting with Spencer? Well, for those of you that read the comics, you know that Spencer and Andrea have a short-term, I wouldn't call it a love affair, but they kind of like each other, and it seems like they're kind of sort of going to get together, but then eventually Andrea pushes him away. Now, as far as Rosita goes, she's only with Spencer because to her, he is a booty call, even though Spencer wants more, like Spencer wanted more in the comics. And he really didn't give up on Andrea until Andrea finally told him, like, listen, you're a nice guy, but dude, I'm not trying to get in any type of relationship. So at the end of the episode, when Rosita looked at Sasha and Rosita was angry and Sasha felt a little bit uncomfortable, it started the wheels turning in my head because I started thinking about Holly again. And even though I know that Carol and Maggie were kidnapped in the last episode, I wonder if the show is going to do the Holly storyline. And if so, who will end up getting Denise's death, because Denise got Abraham's death during this episode, and who will get what happened to Heath. Now, just to quickly explain what happened to Denise in the comic books, Negan rolled up with Holly because Negan took Holly thinking that she was Andrea, and he kept her, and at one point in the comic books this dude tried to rape her and Negan killed the dude because Negan is anti-rape. To be honest, I don't think Negan really hurts women or children, but with the show they may flip the script on that one. Okay, so Denise is freaking out. Negan decides to allow Holly to come back into, or just lets her go back into Alexandria. So Denise runs to kind of embrace her and check on her, and Holly has her, I think her arms were tied behind her back and she has this bag over her head. Denise pulls the bag off of Holly's head. Holly's a walker. Holly bites her in the arm. Heath runs over, because Denise and Heath are dating in the comics. He runs over to save her, only to lose his leg because one of the Savior's grenades hits, I think it was a house or something, and it blows up and it blew off part of his leg. So Denise could have been saved, but decided that she was going to save Heath because one, she loved him, and two, she was the only one that could save him. The first indication that something was going on with Carol was revealed in the mid-season premiere, because remember when she shot that wolf and then she was looking and she was kind of like second guessing what she had done, and she didn't do that previously? That's when I was like, what is going on with Carol? And then the whole like crying scene in the last episode, where at first I thought that she was playing, but apparently she was not. And in this episode when she started smoking, and I was like, I don't recall Carol smoking before. And then when it was revealed at the end that she left, I was a bit surprised. Like, well, what made you leave? And then I started thinking of all the things that I just said, and I was like, but she picked a hell of a time to leave, though. So that puts the group in a sticky situation. Like, should they go after Carol, or should they ante up and deal with the saviors that are coming? Because Dwight was clear about it, like, during this episode. Maybe he didn't say Negan and the crew were coming, but he was trying to convince Daryl and Rosita, like, listen, we're going to go to Alexandria, we're going to go inside, we're going to take what we want, and you're going to let us in. When I saw Abraham walking with Eugene, I thought for sure that Abraham was going to be the one to get the arrow in the eye. And as they were walking around, it seemed like they were having this philosophical conversation, and then Eugene kind of turned and we saw his ponytail, which he has in the comics. And currently in the comic book right now, his ponytail is pretty long. And when they went inside that building, and Eugene decided like to reveal that he wants to sit down and manufacture bullets, which actually does happen in the comic books. And Eugene assembles this team, and then the team ends up getting kidnapped by the Saviors. And the whole penis biting scene in this episode did happen in the comic books as well. And I was just like, oh God. And it was even worse on the TV show, in my opinion. But Eugene was trying to tell Abraham, listen, like, dude, I don't need you anymore. I can take care of myself. I have evolved. I got it. And Abraham left him because Abraham felt a little bit hurt, a little butthurt by the fact that Eugene was just like asserting himself. So he left, and I'm just like, well, is something going to happen to Abraham? Like, what is going on? Okay, so that scene with Daryl, Rosita, and Denise, to me, it felt like a setup, and I felt like something crazy was going to happen. But I would like to applaud Denise for at least trying, even though she, like Eugene, did some foolish stuff during this episode. At least they tried to contribute in some way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, Denise was a fish out of water, even more than Eugene, because Denise had never been outside of the walls after she entered. I mean, when it really, really got crazy, I assumed that Denise was like one of the first people to enter Alexandria, along with Deanna and Pete and Jesse. Rest in peace. I feel like that scene where she went in the back of the apothecary while Rosita and Daryl were grabbing up all of those medications, I feel like that was a big wake-up call to her that all of this was real. On top of the first Walker kill that she had during the episode. And the first, like, I guess you could call it outside, up close and personal encounter with a walker, because some people will probably hear what I said and think, well, you know what, she did face walkers inside. I said yes, but not outside of the wall. It was a lot different. Okay, so I feel like when she saw that woman that had either been killed by the Saviors or died with that broken leg or broken foot, the words hush written on the walls, the baby's pictures, and then the baby who had been drowned in that water and whose body had decomposed so much that it turned into sludge. Like, it really, really affected her. And she went outside and she was all upset, and Daryl and Rosita were trying to figure out what was wrong with her, and they were able to get her to get up and start walking. So when they decided that they were going to take the train tracks this time, instead of going through the woods, I was like, something's going to happen. And the camera kept focusing on Denise. And then when Denise went to the car because she wanted to get that cooler, and Daryl and Rosita were just like, it's not worth it. No, don't do it. And she, meaning Denise, was determined to get that cooler, got the cooler, but also had to wrestle with that walker who seemed like she was determined to get Denise, and it seemed like she was about to get her, and then Denise made her first walker kill. She would not allow Daryl to do it. So to make a long story short, as they were walking away, because she got that soda, which I was like, she finally got it, so maybe she can have it for Tara when Tara comes back. And as she was walking, she was talking and talking. I'm just like, she's going to die, she's going to die. And then when she was like telling Rosita and Daryl how they should be and how they should be reacting, and she got that arrow through her eye, it threw me back. Even though I knew somebody was going to die that way, it threw me back. I was like, come on. Seriously? And then all of a sudden we see Dwight. And I told you guys, I've been mentioning it, and I said, by the time we see him again, his face is going to be burned, and it was burned. And just on a side note, Daryl does not exist in the comic books, and just because Norman Reedus is appearing on The Talking Dead does not necessarily mean that his character is going to die in the season finale. And also, if you read the comics, you can see similarities between Daryl and Dwight. Maybe Daryl is not an a-hole like Dwight, but they do dress the same. If you don't believe me, check out the comics. Also, Dwight carries his own crossbow. So the fact that the show allowed him to take Daryl's crossbow, basically the Dwight that we know from the comics became canon. And seeing him with half his face burned definitely made that the canon Dwight from the comic books. And yes, Eugene does bite his crotch in the comics. Let's see. For a minute there, I did think that Eugene was probably going to die when he got shot, but I'm glad that he's okay. Unfortunately, it's sad that Denise died, and by the time Tara finds out, she is going to be distraught if she makes it back to Alexandria, because with this season and this show right now, I don't know how they're going to do this. They could kill her off while she's with Heath. I don't want that to happen, but I'm just freaked out at this point for so many characters. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, and that is Carol leaving. For the Carolers, I know they're happy because it appears that Carol broke up with Tobin, because that's what it seemed like to me when Tobin was reading that letter, like that was her breakup letter. But when she left, I was just like, she picked a hell of a time to leave them. But I kind of understand why she left. And as I said before, it's going to put the group in a very tough situation, and they're probably going to end up splitting up again just to find Carol. And in the comic books, Michonne disappears after, I believe, the whole war with Negan thing in the comics happens. And then she reappears. A lot of people thought she had died in the comics, so they thought that she was going to die on the show, and I was just like, no. And let me leave you with this one last thing. If Carol wants to be found, she'll be found. And as far as that scene that Chris Hardwick and the Talking Dead showed us, as it pertains to next week's episode, I don't think that's Carol's blood. That could be anybody's blood, and I'm hoping that it's a savior who's bleeding out from that spiky thing. But anyway, until next time, you guys take care. Don't forget to rate this video. Leave me your comments. Let me know what you thought about this episode and the season so far, and who you predict is going to die in the finale. As for me, I'm off to go and watch The Real Housewives of Potomac. Until next time, bye guys. I love you all. Bye guys.